Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Standing Room Only podcast, starring myself, Goose. We have Healy over here. Definitely remember to subscribe whenever you get a chance to our Instagram, our Twitter, eventually our Spotify. That's going to be up soon, hopefully. On Instagram, you can reach us at SROnlyPod. Twitter, same thing, SROnlyPod. Got a lot going on in sports. We had the World Series just completed. Got a lot going on in the NFL, the NBA world. I don't know. I think we should just get right into it.
Yeah, we'll start off with the World Series. Game 7.
Game 7.
We talked about it last week. And for the most part, what I said was right.
Yep.
The Nationals got the momentum. They came to play in Game 7. Max Scherzer pitched pretty well. He gave up the lead pretty early on in the game, but the Nationals came back, closed it out, won their first ever World Series in franchise history, and just as a team, because they were the Expos before.
Yep.
Expos never won it, but for Washington, absolutely huge. Unfortunate that the Astros, who have the potential Cy Young winner, Rookie of the Year, and MVP on their team,
Yep.
lost the World Series in 7 games. Juan Soto, only 21. I'm surprised he didn't win MVP. I remember last week we were talking about, and you brought up Strasburg.
Yep.
I didn't think he would, but he went 2-0, and they gave it to him.
Yeah. Juan Soto, the barely 21-year-old. He was celebrating, right? He had a good game. He went 2 for 4 in that game. I just think overall what it came down to for the MVP, and I guess it's always up in the air, is, Strasburg, pitched his heart out. Every game came in. The fact that he had a pitch on the road a lot, where they got a lot of victories on the road, I should say. That was pretty much every win was on the road for either team. It was well-deserved for Strasburg. Scherzer, he pitched pretty well too. I think overall in Game 7, it was exactly what you said. It was going to be a good pitchers matchup, which we got. The last 3 innings obviously decided the ending there. One thing I was really surprised on that I really want to touch base with is why after Greinke they didn't go to Garrett Cole.
Yeah, that was definitely last game of the year. I get that he pitched
on Sunday, but it was Wednesday, right? So he had a few days rest. I've seen pitchers pitch on less days.
And it's a relief appearance. Their bullpen was pretty decent, though. Will Harris was a good guy to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the Nationals where it's the starting pitching and then Daniel Hudson.
Right.
They had some guys that they could bring in. But going back to Strasburg, they won 4 games in the World Series, and Strasburg was responsible for 2 of them.
Yeah.
So half their wins right there. First ever team in any major sport to win all 4 road games, which, one, rarely happens because if you lose a bunch of your home games, you generally don't
win. Yeah, it's home field advantage. So if you're not pulling that advantage, you're not winning. Well, good luck on the road, which in this case, it was kind of odd for both teams to win only on the road. But
yeah, and they had to go 7 games, and they had to lose every game at home.
Yep.
It's just such a small chance for it to actually happen, and then the fact that it did happen was kind of cool.
Yeah, and the fact that the Nationals ended up winning the World Series title all without Bryce Harper is kind of what baseball needed. So let's never forget that. I'm pretty sure he said he wanted to bring a title back to Washington at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, he accidentally said D.C.
D.C., right, yeah, right. Okay.
There's a clip of him saying, I want to bring a title back to D.C., and then he corrected himself and said Philly. But
yeah, he definitely didn't have to correct himself there.
I don't know if they, going off Bryce Harper, people are oh, they won it without him. I bet he's complaining or whatever. Yeah, he missed out on a World Series title, but he's set for a while. He should get a chance for at least a few years. And who even knows if they would have made the World Series with him on the roster? That's a lot of money that came off the books.
Yeah.
And they used it to sign Patrick Corbin.
Yeah.
Which was a big part of that team. I think the Astros and Nationals were number 1 and 2 in pitcher payroll, like starting pitcher payroll.
Wow.
Both of them were like 100 million each for their top 3 guys.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, I mean, pitching is that's your defense, and I'll say it for every sport, defense wins championships, right? But yeah, you hit the nail on the head there with Patrick Corbin, came in relief, pitched 3 innings, only gave up 2 hits. So I would say, I mean, for the Astros to not follow suit, I mean, to bring in Will Harris, who isn't bad, but I feel like Game 7, you have to bring in Garrett Cole.
The guy who potentially could win Cy Young.
Yeah.
And who had a fantastic postseason. He did take an L in the postseason. I don't know if he got both L's, but I think both games that he pitched, they ended up losing.
Yeah, he ended up pitching. It wasn't a bad game.
They won in if he pitched in DC, then they won that game.
Yeah, because they won every game in DC.
Yeah, so they won Game 5. So he did result in a win for one of those games. But yeah, Garrett Cole, 2 days rest, like you can't bring him in for an inning or two?
Just an inning, just to see what's going to happen. I mean, it's a toss-up there. I feel like the guy who went 18-0 since May, you have to give him a shot in Game 7. Now, whether or not it was a coach's decision or maybe the pitching coach said maybe we shouldn't throw him in, but I don't know. I feel like Game 7, you got to throw it all on the line, especially if this guy's not even going to pitch for you next year. Like, I mean, if I'm, might pull what the Cubs did with Aroldis Chapman and just keep throwing pitches with him,
Yeah. You see the interview after the game with Garrett Cole?
No, I heard a little bit about it. Sounded a little salty from what I heard, so I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. Basically, they asked him like some questions, and he was like, "I'm not employed by any team, so I don't have to answer."
Yeah. I mean,
which
he's not.
Is true.
He's
like,
not.
if he was still under team control for the Astros, and maybe he had to answer questions, but technically, after that last out, he was not a member of the Astros anymore, which meant he was a free agent, and he wasn't required to speak to the media.
Yeah. Which it's funny too because I was looking at the Astros roster, and they already took him off their roster on Yahoo Sports here, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah, he's a free agent. Steven Strasburg opted out of his deal, which we talked about that last week. So he left $100 million, 4 years off the table. But he
should get more.
He should get around like $140 million over like 5 years. So he gets an extra year on his contract, and he should get $40 million added to his bank account too.
And he might stay in Washington. I don't see why or don't see how they don't offer him that. So I think it was a good move overall for Strasburg. Garrett Cole, I think he's out of Houston.
There's no way they re-sign him.
Yeah, hopefully he comes to Chicago, to the South Side specifically. We'll see. Historically, the Sox don't spend money. I'm a little bitter as a Sox fan because of that, even though we did win a championship back in 2005, but obviously, history proves that we haven't done anything since then. So
it's almost been 15 years.
Yeah. So I mean, we're looking good right now. I really like our bats. I love Tim Anderson. Led the AL in batting average.
Yep.
Jose Abreu, I believe, led the AL in RBIs, or did he fall off at the end there?
He was definitely up at the top.
He was up there, yeah. So
he's a free agent, though.
Yeah, I don't know. After what he said, I think it was during the middle of the season, he wants to stay with the Sox forever. But again, money talks. Somebody with his caliber, his talent. As much as he wants to stay in Chicago, if somebody's going to offer him more, I don't blame him if he goes elsewhere.
And maybe if they're a contender too.
Yeah, that's going to play a big factor. I feel like he's the type of character that's going to, go, where a championship could be. And I feel like the Sox are a contending team right now. Hopefully they spend some money, get some more pitching. I don't think they're far off right now. They won more games than what they were projected. So
yeah, Yohan Moncada stepped up this year.
He stepped up.
Yolmer Sanchez won a Gold Glove.
He won a Gold Glove. I saw that. I was surprised. I mean, he's good. He's really good. I can't take that away from him. I was just surprised to see him finish as the finalist there. But
they definitely need a couple outfielders. Maybe Marcelo Ozuna goes there.
Yeah, in
free agency. But they need that starting pitching. They're at the point where the Cubs were in 2014, where they signed Lester.
Yeah,
they need that one guy to get them to the playoffs. They do have Kopech, who will come back next year.
He's coming back.
They do have Giolito, who had a good year.
Great year.
But you need that veteran. You need that ace.
I completely agree. Yeah, you got to have that veteran come in, someone that you play that you know is going to guarantee a few wins here, rally the team, and we also have Dylan Cease. He had a horrible year. It was a bad year. But he's got talent, and he's young, so we'll see.
JD Martinez did not opt out of his contract. There was he's getting paid a lot of money, but there is a pretty high chance that he was going to, because this would have been his last contract. I think he's only signed until 34, and if he would have opted out, he could have got money until he was like 36 or 37.
If he opted out.
Yeah. So now he has an opt-out next year. We'll have to see where the Red Sox are at that point, but if he stays in that contract that he has, he'll exit at 34 and potentially lose out on some money that he could have got if he opted out this offseason.
Yeah, or he opts out, or he doesn't opt out. He gets out of the contract at 34, and then maybe he ends up a Yankee, since historically they like to sign these older bats.
Jacoby Ellsbury and Johnny Damon.
Yeah, Johnny Damon. Edwin Encarnacion, who's been around for ever.
They did not exercise his deal.
Is he gone now too?
He's a free agent.
Okay.
Some other big free agents that have entered the market for the offseason. Yasmani Grandal. I think he was done. I don't know if he had like an option year or whatever, but he's no longer with the Brewers. Mike Moustakas hits the free agent market. Eric Thames, they did not pick up his option, so we could see him on a different team next year.
It's interesting. He's definitely got some pop in his bat, as we saw this year. Remember that year, was it last year or 2 years ago, when Eric Thames, in the first couple months, smacked all those bombs, and everybody was questioning what he was, his training routine was, and then all of a sudden he fell off, and now, like, this past year, he kind of picked it up a little bit.
Yeah, 2017 is when he went off.
2017, okay.
I don't see them re-signing Eric Thames. Eric Thames is like a good bat, too. He had like a 1.9 WAR for the year. But I don't know what the Brewers must have a plan with that. There were 2 signings already. Atlanta re-signed Tyler Flowers to a $4 million deal. He had a 2.1 WAR last year. So he's like a decent catcher. He's serviceable.
Yeah.
He's not the guy you want at catcher. And they also re-signed Nick Markakis to a 4-year deal. They had these guys for like $6 million, and then I think they declined their option and they re-signed them for less. But they gave him like a bonus to make up that money. So Nick Markakis is back, which is pretty big. I don't know if you guys know, but Nick Markakis has like 20. He has like 2,400 hits, I think, at the moment. He has 2,355 hits. So 2,355. Currently 645 away from 3,000, which would be
club.
Huge.
Oh, yeah.
He gets like 160 a year. He's 35, so he could potentially get 3,000 hits, which, just so everyone knows, everyone that's hit 3,000 hits is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I mean, that's not easy. I didn't realize he was 35 years old. I guess he has been around that long, huh?
Yeah, and he's consistent. He was hurt this year. He only played 116 games, but got 118 hits. He'll probably be like a Harold Baines, where he was like okay throughout his career. Doesn't get like a lot of accolades, but he'll hit the milestone. I want to see him hit that. So re-signing to Atlanta, where he's comfortable and he's produced, it's pretty good. But we'll have to see if he falls off in the near future.
Yeah, he's definitely a good bat for them. That whole Atlanta team I really like. I know we touched base on it last week. Definitely bright young future for that team to take that, east of the NL East this past year. Obviously the team behind them ended up winning it, but there's a lot of talent there, a lot of talent in the East in general. The Mets are really good. I don't know. I feel like it's too early to have our next year's predictions. We just have to wait to see how free agency plays out. But Definitely a lot of notable free agents we'll always touch base on throughout as, signings do happen. But definitely looking to see where some of these guys go.
Speaking of the Mets, Carlos Beltran is the new manager of the New York Mets. Kind of weird to see him as a manager because he retired like 2 years ago.
Yep.
You think of him as this Hall of Fame type player, and he's already a manager. New manager, never had any experience before, and it's of the Mets. They have a good team.
Yeah.
It'll be just like David Ross, where they have no experience, but I think they have the knowledge to like put together a team.
Sure.
And they just need I think the bullpen management and pitching will be the toughest part.
Yeah, that's going to be the hardest part. I think it was a good signing. I mean, it's obviously too hard to tell right now. Carlos Beltran, like you said, when you think of him, you think of, him as a player versus David Ross at that point was like that role player the last couple of years. I guess for Beltran, that's what he was brought in for, was kind of that role player. Only 42 years old, still pretty young. So we'll see how these guys react to him because they do have some young talent, but they do have a lot of veterans on their team as it is. So it'd be interesting to see how they react and play.
Yeah, we'll see where the offseason moves are. But I think that's it for baseball pretty much. Game 7 World Series, spring training, like 100 something days away or something.
Yeah, we'll keep a countdown going. It's a little early, but baseball is always fun, right?
Yeah. So just in the future, the baseball talk will mainly just be about free agent signings, which if it goes like last year, we won't be talking about that for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about in the NFL. There's a lot going on right now. I feel like, we saw a lot of good teams lose this past weekend. First one we can touch base on right away. You can say it. I already know you're thinking it.
Well, I was going to say the Vikings, but the Packers.
Okay, the Packers. Yeah, the Packers lost. We'll touch base on the Packers. Actually, let's get into it.
Every NFC North team lost.
Every single one. So, watching the Bears game, I did watch pretty much that whole game.
I can't watch them anymore.
I don't know.
It's
At this
terrible.
point, it's not just on Mitch Trubisky. At some point, you look at Coach Nagy and you're going to say, where's this play calling coming from? They don't run the ball when they need to. And I know they were playing from behind. Their defense was on the field the whole game. And I know when you look at the scoreboard, you're thinking, oh, their defense gave up 22 points. Not bad. But if you watch the game, they had a lot of stops in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's nothing they can do when you're playing the game of field position and you're not moving the football on the offense. I think at one point, Trubisky started completing some passes. This was in the second half.
Yeah. Time of possession. Eagles, 40 minutes and 18 seconds. The Bears, 19 minutes and 42.
Wow.
So
I mean, that tells the story right there. So game management is huge. And from what I saw, this comes down to play calling. We know Trubisky isn't the best quarterback. We know that he misses his targets a lot of overthrows.
Mm-hmm.
He undercuts his receivers a lot. But for us to say that and to point it out every week, for fans to say that and point it out every week, it gets to a point when you're the coaching staff, when you're Matt Nagy and you're like being grilled every week. How do you switch that up? I feel like at some point, knowing David Montgomery is a future stud, he's a stud right now. We've seen signs. Run the football, establish the run game. You can control the clock, open up the play action pass a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it happen late in the fourth quarter. Trubisky had a pass. It went for, I don't know how many yards, 35, 40 yards. And I was sitting there watching the game, and I kept saying, just run the football, set up the play action. If you're going to be one-dimensional, I don't care if you're playing the Dolphins, they're going to know how to play you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we saw. And so it's still early for the Bears, considering our division is strong. They do have 5 losses. I don't know if it's possible realistically.
No.
I mean, on paper, is it? Yeah, technically they have a shot, but with how it's playing out right now and how their offense is performing, a good defense only does so much. So
I'm pretty sure Nagy's going to get rid of the play calling and give it to someone else.
Someone else has to take over.
I don't know if they've already done that or not, but I have seen a stat today where Trubisky is like 6th in either like quarterback rating or some stat when he's like outside the pocket.
Outside the pocket.
Yeah, last year he wasn't great outside the pocket. This year, I guess he's better outside the pocket. So maybe like play action, get him to roll out.
Yeah, roll out. So
I get some different angles.
Exactly. And he's one of those quarterbacks. He's athletic. It's not like he's he's not like a Jay Cutler trotting down the field. Like, we've seen this guy, he has legs. And at some point, I think they have to design some plays. You have to establish some sort of place for him to roll out or something that's different from what they're doing. They run way too many screens. Every other play is a 5-yard screen, or
it's not even 5 yards.
It's not even 5 yards.
It's like 2.
It's, they had a lot of penalties. 2nd and 15 or 3rd and 18, whatever it may be, and you're running a screen. I can't blame Trubisky.
It's just dump offs and screens the whole game.
This is like what the Bears have historically been known for. And it's like, at this point, you have every couple of years you have new players come in, new coaching staff, but it's still the same identity. And I think Aaron Rodgers does it best. He gets the ball, and he waits. I mean, with Rodgers, it's a little bit different. He expects that line to collapse at some point, which his line isn't the best, but he knows when to roll out. Trubisky doesn't roll out. I feel like he tries to run through the pocket, which is not always the best idea for a quarterback with speed, because everybody's crashing at one point. Yeah. When you roll out, you can go outside the ends, and who knows if the defense is playing coverage or zone, you might draw the linebacker, you might draw the cornerback in, and you're going to leave somebody open. Granted, is Trubisky going to hit that open target?
It's a toss-up.
We don't know.
I saw Olin Kreutz tweet out today, former center of the Bears. Yep. He tweeted out that and it hurt him to tweet it out, that the Bears line this past weekend was atrocious.
It was horrible.
Charles Leno is garbage this year. Every game he has like 3 holding calls.
Yeah, there was a lot of holding calls. There was a couple of false start penalties. It was just, overall, it was bad. And then you add that to Trubisky got hurried, I don't know how many times. So much. And at some point, we can't just put the blame on Trubisky. And I think that's where it's coming down to, is overall, they just need better play calling. And I don't know. I think we need to get David Montgomery going. Not even just Tariq Cohen. So
he got like 15 touches. Going back to Trubisky and scrambling, last year he had 68 rush attempts for 421 yards.
Yeah.
Through 14 games. This year he's played 7 games, only has 11 rushing attempts and 46 yards.
7 attempts.
Where are his legs?
Yeah.
Where are his legs?
His legs are there.
Because if you get people like knowing that he can scramble, that's an extra guy you need to make sure he doesn't do that.
Yeah, you're gonna keep the defense on their toes. I mean, Aaron Rodgers isn't the most athletic quarterback out there. Let's look at the quarterbacks doing it right now. Rodgers, Russell Wilson,
Mahomes,
Lamar,
Watson,
Lamar Jackson. So we have all of these quarterbacks who are mobile and are successful. And a lot of these guys don't have the best defenses. But it takes more than a good defense to win a football game. And, that stat alone, says a lot. They just don't run the ball. And I get it. You play from behind a lot of games. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. But if you're down early, you can't just give up on the run game.
Yeah, you got to get in there at some point. Other big games that happened this week, Russell Wilson went off. 5 touchdowns.
MVP
performance this week.
Yeah, last week we were kind of torn on who the MVP really was, but I feel like that just jumped him right to the top. Between him and Christian McCaffrey, I don't really know who would be 1 and 2 right now, but everybody else just falls behind.
I was seeing people mention Deshaun Watson, but I don't think he's there yet. I think he's
up
a
there.
little bit. I think he's up there, like top 5 for MVP, but I still think Russell Wilson and McCaffrey are 1 and 2.
Oh, hands down. And like I said, it's hard to tell who is 1 and 2. I guess you could say Lamar Jackson's up there. We saw what he just did to the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy is literally a walking video game character. But yeah, Russell Wilson, that whole Seattle team, they're just good overall. I mean, their receivers, they don't have like the biggest name receivers. They have one of the quietest receivers in the game right now that's going off is Tyler Lockett. I mean, I wouldn't say he was a top pick in anybody's fantasy drafts.
No.
I mean, he wasn't in mine. But the fact that this guy is scoring almost at will every game, he's a deep threat. He's a possession receiver. You have DK Metcalf, who's built like a tank, running, as fast as Usain Bolt out there.
They just picked up Josh Gordon. I don't know if he's going to play. He was on injured reserve, so I don't know if he's back, but he did get picked up by Seattle.
Yeah. The Patriots put him on the IR. I want to say the acquisition of Sanu kind of just let them split ways with him, which I wouldn't say is a bad move. Josh Gordon hasn't done too much for the Patriots. He's talented. I feel like it was just mutual at that point. Him in Seattle, that's scary.
Good work. Yeah.
That's scary. Not that they needed him, but we also saw Kenyon Drake get traded to the Cardinals.
He's been good.
And he went off. He ran all over that San Francisco defense.
Who barely squeaked by 3 points.
Yeah, they have, I think San Francisco right now, they're still, obviously they're still undefeated. But yeah, to squeak by Arizona by only 3 points, Arizona's not bad. They have talent all over the field. I wouldn't consider them good enough to keep up with the 49ers, but maybe it's just the 49ers. Maybe it's just an off game. Who knows? It was a divisional game.
It was a road game for them, too.
It was, and it was a Thursday night game. I feel like that's always that's always one of those weird games.
Yeah, normally the home team wins Thursday night games and it's a blowout.
Yeah, and it was a fun game to watch. It was back and forth. Jimmy G got it going. 49ers still undefeated. The only undefeated team, as we saw the New England Patriots go down Sunday night.
Pretty easily to the Baltimore Ravens.
They did. They had a lot of difficulty stopping the Ravens offense, which, again, Lamar Jackson controls that. That's what we've been saying. You have a quarterback who can control the game. If he has to scramble out for 5 yards, he'll do it. The way he made some of those guys miss, it's crazy to me. It reminds me of Michael Vick back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like the Ravens, they've built an offense to suit Lamar Jackson. They didn't make an offense and they're like, okay, Lamar, fit into this. They're just like, all right, Lamar's our guy.
Yep.
We're going to get the pieces that fit the offense that we need around him. And they've perfected it.
Yeah, no, they have really good talent there. A lot of speed. And I feel like that's kind of like where some of the teams are going right now. You're going to kill these defenses with speed. Chiefs do the same thing. They probably have the fastest team I've ever seen in my life. And then the Ravens have Lamar Jackson. They're throwing their tight end Mark Andrews is good.
Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown is super fast. I know he missed a couple of games. Looks like the Ravens just signed DeAnthony Thomas to their roster, who is super fast. He used to be a Chief. I don't know what role he's going to play, if he's going to be a special teamer, but that's more speed to that team. And then their defense isn't bad. You get a good defense in the mix, and you see what can happen there.
Mark Ingram ran for 100 yards.
Mark Ingram, yeah, he's been the most consistent. I wouldn't say the most consistent back, but he's been consistently good. He does just enough over in Baltimore. They don't need a top end back, but he's putting up top end numbers, I would say. He's had a few 100-yard games. overall, they're definitely a potential to go deep in the playoffs. Obviously, if you can beat the Patriots, I don't know. The Patriots were undefeated. This was like their first big test, though.
Mm-hmm. Just like how this week the 49ers are going up against the Seahawks.
Seattle.
Their first big test.
Yeah.
Too.
That's going to be a good game. That's Sunday
Monday.
night? Oh, that's Monday night. Oh, prime time.
So we'll talk about that next week, the recap of that game. But going into that game, that's going to be the best game to watch of the week, which is a little unfortunate how it's Monday because we have to wait just an extra day longer for it.
Yeah, but you know what? It's going to be worth the wait. It's going to be a good show. This right here, this game, I'm predicting Russell Wilson to have a stellar game just because that's what he does. This game right now is going to decide whether or not we can consider him a more than definite candidate for MVP. It's still going to be between him and Christian McCaffrey just simply because we just saw Cam Newton go on the IR with the Panthers. They've been winning football games. They still have the potential. They're in the playoff hunt. If Russell Wilson can beat the 49ers and do it in a dominant fashion the way he's been doing to a lot of teams, granted, some of the games have been close, but himself, the way he's performing, I don't see how this guy doesn't win MVP.
Yeah, and it will prove, this game is going to prove if the 49ers are the real deal.
Exactly.
We talked about it last week where it's like, they're good, they're undefeated, like we're halfway through the season, why don't you consider them contenders? But like, their schedule has been just a tad weak. They haven't played anyone amazing. They're finally getting the test. Like, the Patriots, they got whooped against the Ravens. Are you going to consider the Ravens the best team in the AFC and the Patriots, like, out of it? No. But this game will be a good test to see how the 49ers actually compare to a team that's a playoff bound.
Oh, hands down. With the 49ers, their offense is run heavy. I mean, they have a really fast committee in the backfield. Their defense does the job. I would expect a turnover or two, couple of sacks on Russell Wilson somehow, unless he scrambles out of the pocket and just does what he does best. 49ers are good. As you mentioned, their schedule hasn't been the hardest, but they beat some notable teams.
So, looking at their schedule, after Seattle, they play Arizona again at home. Should be an easy one. Then the next 3 games, week 12, 13, and 14, Green Bay visits them. Then they go to Baltimore, and then they go to New Orleans. So, playing Baltimore, that's going to be a great game to watch. And then going to the Superdome, that's a tough place to play in, too.
Yeah, and at that point, I mean, you're on the road against these teams. So you're going to get a tough Lamar Jackson. You're going to get a tough overall Ravens team. And then you go to New Orleans, who should be all healthy at that point. We know Kamara's been battling the ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Drew Brees is back. The Saints, without Drew Brees and Kamara, still won football games.
They won 5-0.
5-0. That's crazy.
Teddy B.
It just goes to show that that's an all-round team. I mean, to be fair, they should have been in the Super Bowl last year. America, everybody else watching, we should have had a fun Super Bowl Sunday, but we didn't. Could thank the refs, which they have that rule change.
Yeah.
Where you can challenge penalties.
You can challenge pass interference calls.
Pass interference calls. I feel like none of them are getting overturned.
No, it's a good rule, but at this point, it's so dumb because coaches will challenge anything. And most of the time, it's not going to get overturned.
I feel like it's one of those that's going to play a huge factor in the playoffs, and that's when the officiating is going to really crack down and draw the line on what is and what isn't during an official review. Because, I mean, I don't know. The Rams just didn't show up in the Super Bowl. Like, it's not good for the business to let something like that slide. During the regular season, as fans, we're going to complain here and there. But when it comes down to the playoffs and when, it's a conference championship game, You can't let something like that happen. And I feel like that's why these penalties or the challenge rule was put into place for these penalties was for those games.
Yeah, to prevent it.
Yeah.
And also, going back to the Super Bowl, the Rams, they didn't show up, but the Patriots and Sean McVay knew right away. They played that Bears defense that destroyed them on Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
And it worked in the Super Bowl, too. So,
it worked very well.
So they copied the Bears scheme that they used against the Rams, and that held them to 3 points.
Yeah, and the Rams defense, they showed up. They played a very good football game. Fourth quarter, that huge pass to Gronk sealed the deal. What a way to retire.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, we'll see. There's get some other lopsided games. I guess we can just go at it right now. That Green Bay Packers team. What the hell was that?
They only scored 11 points. I didn't see any of that game. I thought that they were going to win. Did you watch any of it? Or
sadly, I did watch most of that game. Aaron Rodgers was on his back the entire football game. Bosa was in his face. He got to know him better than anybody has ever gotten to know Aaron Rodgers. Ingram was in his face. Rodgers just couldn't. He had some good passes. They moved the ball, but it all came in the second half. I believe in the first half, they had like a total of like 59 yards, which I don't care who you're playing. The Chargers are a good team. I wouldn't say they're that good to blow out Green Bay the way they did. But to only have that amount of yards when you're that type of team, let's face it, our defense started off strong. We're kind of falling down just a little bit. We're still playing well by Green Bay Packers. But our offense is definitely dependent on a lot more than what we thought would be needed after the first few games. Couldn't even run the ball at all. It was just a bad game overall. It was just a bad game. And our defense did step up at times. We definitely held the Chargers. They got into the red zone a couple of times. We stopped them, held them to a couple of field goals. It's just when you don't move the ball and for a whole half of football, nobody's going to win a football game there.
Yeah, we'll see if they bounce back this week against Carolina without Cam Newton. Christian McCaffrey will be playing. Some of the other games, the Browns lost again. Baker Mayfield not looking great.
Not looking good at all.
I don't think it's all on him, though. I think the coach that they have, Freddie Kitchens, isn't great. Also, I don't think their O-line makeup is too great as well. So he's getting pressured a lot. He does have a lot of picks this year.
Yeah.
And I think some of them have resulted from just drop passes.
Yeah. There's definitely it's just a whole mix of not good football. Nick Chubb is running his heart out. He's having an awesome year. You would think it should open up the pass game. I know if you look at the stat line right now for this last game, Baker Mayfield completed 65% of his passes, 273 yards. He had a tutty, no interceptions. He got sacked twice, so he is getting hit still. But it surprises me to see so much talent on one team.
Especially on their offense.
On the offense. Yeah, specifically the offense. But to average, how many points are they average? They're not even averaging that many points. And it's not like their defense is the worst. They, let's see here. So they lost this last game, obviously, 24-19. So they put up 19 points in this game.
They're averaging 19 points a game.
19
which
points.
Which is 25th in the NFL.
25th. And you have arguably, a top 3, top 5 receiver in Odell. Top 5 athlete. And you have Jarvis Landry, who can ball.
Who's a top 15 wide receiver.
Hands down,
probably.
Possession receiver. We saw him get into the end zone. Nick Chubb. They do have Hunt coming back. We'll see how they use him. I don't know how often they will. I don't see how you don't utilize his speed. But at the end of the day, when your play calling isn't the best, your quarterback's getting hit, turning the ball over. This is just a rough year for them.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they turn it around again or next year. Because this year, not it. People thought that they're going to make the playoffs. they're going to be a threat. Not happening.
Yeah. Another team that is a surprise, though, they have a really good football team, and I don't know how they're 6-2. Well, I know how. Their defense is pretty good, and they have a solid offense. Be the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and one of their losses is against the Patriots, so
and that was a very good game they played. They held the Patriots to 16 points?
I think it was 17-13.
17-13. Yeah, so for that team to go out and do that, and his numbers, his stat line isn't good enough to really explain how good Josh Allen has been this year. He has 10 touchdowns, passing, 7 interceptions. You look at that stat, and you're thinking there's no way this team is 6-2 with a quarterback like that. But then you look at his statistics. He's rushed the ball 61 times in 8 games. He has almost 250 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, he knows how to use his legs. I think he has a strong arm.
He does have a strong arm.
And he has legs to help him move.
And he has some talent. He has some talented players around him. He has John Brown to throw to, little Cole Beasley when they get into the red zone there, as we can see. I like the Bills. I don't know if they're going to hold off as being a playoff team. Right now, they're leading the wild card spot.
Yeah.
6-2. As long as they gave up 131 points on the season so far, which is extremely good. The only teams better than that are the Patriots, because their defense has been unhuman-like, and the 49ers. That's it.
Yeah, their offense is a little weak, though. But their defense is carrying, which is all that needs to happen.
Yeah, I feel like if Josh Allen can continue to utilize his legs, 7 interceptions isn't bad through 8 games. When you compare it to his touchdowns, that ratio is kind of high.
Especially for like a young quarterback. It's not bad.
You just need a game manager at that point. They ran the ball all over Washington, which isn't saying much, but Washington isn't the worst defense.
Mm-hmm.
So they do have talent, and honestly, in the AFC, it's Buffalo, Indy for the wild card spots. Pittsburgh is third right now at 4-4. How that happened, I couldn't tell you. This was the team that started off dreadful. Their defense has been playing pretty well. They have a series of injuries with their quarterbacks. James Conner is on and off. Juju Smith is playing well when he's on the field, I guess.
Yeah. They don't have a quarterback the remainder of the year.
Yeah, he's out. And then
I think their backup got hurt too, so now they're on like their third string guy.
They are. Yeah. Was it Mason Rudolph?
Yeah,
he's out. So they're hurt. If you look at their stats right now, passing yards, they're 29th in the league. Keep in mind, there's 32 teams. Rushing yards, 26th. This is a team that used to run the ball like there was no tomorrow. Total yards, they're 28th. And this is a team that has a chance to get into the playoffs. You know what this tells me? The Patriots are going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, unless Mahomes comes back and that team plays well.
Actually, good point.
He comes back this week, I think.
Yeah, he was really close to suiting up this past week. I think it was like last minute, hour and a half before they decided they weren't going to suit him up.
No.
They ended up
winning that game.
Winning the game against Minnesota, which their kicker is really good. He kicked some bombs. I think he kicked like a 52-yarder at some point in that game. That was a huge game.
Mm-hmm.
All around, KC winning without Mahomes. He's going to come back. Tyreek Hill with Matt Moore had a great game. And it just goes to show that their team is so talented. Damian Williams had a 90. Did you see that touchdown? Yeah. And Tyreek Hill
caught up to him.
Yeah, he had like a 20-yard advantage, and Tyreek Hill made it a point to outrun everybody, including Damian Williams. And after the game, he said, he did it on purpose because Damian Williams in practice always says he's the fastest back on the team or the fastest player on the team. So Tyreek Hill said he made it a point on live TV to show everybody who is the fastest. I think he hit like 26 miles an hour.
He had 22.
22? Okay.
Williams was at 20.
Yeah.
So a whole 2 miles per hour faster.
22's fast.
Yeah, right now, for the wild card, it's looking like the Bills, Colts, and then the Chargers. They've won 2 in a row. They beat the Bears and they beat the Packers. They're 4-5 at the moment, but they're a pretty decent team. I'm surprised they are a little bit below 500. Their remaining schedule.
Yeah, what are they looking like? They're not a bad team. Phillip Rivers, obviously, every year is going to put up his numbers.
He's leading the league in passing yards.
Yeah, he's having, again, it's one of those, they play very close football games. He does have to pass the ball a lot, which when you have Keenan Allen, why wouldn't you? You have Eckler catching out of the backfield. They finally have Melvin Gordon back in the past couple weeks. He scored a touchdown against Green Bay. Overall, they have a pretty good team in their defense. They've been playing well.
Yeah, they're looking at their schedule, though. It's going to be tough. They play Oakland in Oakland Thursday night. So, like, they aren't the home team. Thursday night games, home team normally dominates. And then they play Kansas City, Denver in Denver, Jacksonville, who's okay. Then they play Minnesota, Oakland, and then Kansas City again. So 2 games against Kansas City. They need to split that series. One of them's in Mexico City, so neutral site. They need a split.
Yeah, that KC twice is going to be tough because KC already has 3 losses on the year. They're playing to win out, especially knowing the Patriots. Who knows how many more games they're going to lose going in as a number 1. I'm pretty sure Andy Reid understands and knows he doesn't want to play Belichick in Foxborough.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I don't see I guess you never know with the Chargers. It's going to be tough to beat Mahomes on the road or home, which we saw the Chargers play at home this week against Green Bay. Watching that game, when the Packers did anything, I felt like there was more Packer fans than Charger fans.
I think it's been like that every week. I don't think San Diego has never really been. Well, they moved away from San Diego.
They did.
So all the San Diego fans aren't really like maybe fans anymore. And moving to LA, the team that people root for in LA right now is the Rams.
It's the Rams, the Super Bowl team. Yeah, and they have Defensive Player of the Year over there. They have, I don't know if anybody's really rooting for Todd Gurley. I'm sure they are, but.
And the Rams used to play in LA. So like
they did.
Older people like the Rams.
Historically, before they went to St. Louis.
So we'll have to see. I think they're going to be a fringe, but for right now, it looks like the playoffs are locked up in the AFC. It just depends on where the standings end up.
All those teams that are 4-5, all the way up to the Bills. Who knows? The Bills might fall off. Their defense is really good. I hope to see them go because they gave the Patriots a run for their money in that game.
And they're a nice young team.
They're
see
young.
What they can do.
Yeah.
Maybe steal a game in the playoffs.
You never know. Colts, I don't know. The Jacoby Brissett got hurt. Ooh. He's questionable.
Oh, and they lost out. They're 5-3. They missed out on a big dub this week. Adam Vinatieri missing the game.
Mr. Clutch.
He shanked that.
Mr. Clutch, what was that?
I don't know if you saw, but in the replay, the punter, the laces were straight back.
Oh, no. What? I didn't see that.
Vinatieri hit the laces dead on. And it might have got tipped at the line. So, like, it wasn't, you might think Vinatieri's washed. You don't kick the laces. Yeah, usually kickers can last a while. I was surprised to see that. I didn't see the kick. Yeah. I saw bits and pieces of that game. Mm-hmm. It was like, it was like 20 yards to the left. It was so shanked. But like I said, the laces were straight back. Yeah, that's like rule number 1 as a holder. Laces out. Laces out. And that ended up, like, who knows if he would have actually shanked it if the laces were the other way, but or if it got tipped. Yeah, you can't have the laces back. So that's tough. Tough game for the Colts right there. And that's Pittsburgh right there. That put them right back in it. 4-4, yeah. And the Colts just lost T.Y. Hilton for a couple of weeks. A few weeks maybe. So the AFC can go any way. If we look at the NFC right now,
and I think that's where I really want to touch base on here. Seattle is 7-2. Whether or not they end up taking their division somehow from San Francisco might not happen.
They need
Those
to win.
two have it locked. So it's going to be a battle for that second wild card position. Minnesota, they've been playing good football. They had a tough, heartbreaking loss. The Rams are right there.
And then the Cowboys or Eagles.
Cowboys or Eagles. Carolina's been playing pretty damn well. I don't know how long they're going to hold up. Christian McCaffrey might be the answer for them, and that's what I'm saying. He might be the MVP, depending on how their season goes.
The Lions were in there, but they have flopped the past couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and
Lions.
It's looking like they aren't going
to. They blew that game in the fourth quarter there. Fourth and a couple of yards. Couldn't score the football. They didn't have Kenny Galladay out on the field for that last play. They didn't have Marvin Jones. I don't know what they were doing there.
Yeah, they aren't looking too great. Cardinals are 3-5, 3-5-1, which is a little interesting. You have at the bottom the Falcons and Redskins, 1-7 and 1-8. The Giants are 2-7. Did you see the Monday night game with the Giants and Cowboys?
I was watching bits and pieces of it. I saw some, Saquon had some good plays. When you look at his stats for the game, you're like, wow, Saquon had a good game. He got shut down, minus a couple of good plays. Cowboys played pretty well.
Well, the final score is 37-18. And the Giants had the lead going into the fourth, and then the Cowboys scored 21 points in the fourth quarter.
One was a last-second defensive touchdown. Didn't need a score, but
he
why
did
not?
anyways.
Why not? I have the Cowboys on my fantasy team, and that got me a victory, so I'll take that.
Speaking of bad teams, the Dolphins, they got their first dub this week.
They did.
So the only undefeated team right now, Cincinnati Bengals, who benched Andy Dalton.
Or not undefeated, they're winless. Winless.
Thanks for correcting me.
Cincinnati fans, don't get excited. You haven't won a game yet.
Yeah, they're the only winless team still in football.
Yeah, they're just overall, that franchise right now, I don't want to say anything bad about the franchise, but the position that they're in with injuries and A.J. Green being out on the way back in, wants a contract extension, Joe Mixon not being Joe Mixon that we have seen.
Andy Dalton being benched, end of an era maybe.
Maybe, we'll see. They're one of those teams where they're good every 5 years for a season, and then there's issues.
They do play the Dolphins week 16, so maybe they get a dub there.
You want to get together for that game? It's like a Super Bowl matchup, potentially in a couple of years.
Yeah, it was just like this week with the Jets and Miami. They had one win combined.
Yeah, so Miami won. I'm not going to say that's saying much. They beat the Jets, which the Jets to be 1-7 is a little surprise to me because their defense isn't, going into the season wasn't that bad. You have Le'Veon Bell.
No.
So
their offense is terrible. The Jets have averaged 12 points a game, dead last.
That's horrible.
223 yards per game, dead last. Passing yards, 157.2, dead last. And then rushing yards, 66.2, which is 30th.
And this is a professional NFL team with players getting paid millions of dollars.
Le'Veon Bell. There
was rumors that he was on the block before the trade deadline, which I think they should have shopped him instead of listening to offers.
Mm-hmm.
No, nothing against Bell. He's a great running back.
It's just that team in that position, they're going to be good for the next few years. Yeah. They've signed him for 4 years or something.
There was hope going into the season for them, and I think they got a taste of reality. Should have just fucking traded him. Let's trade the guy.
Sam Darnold for a couple of games this year had mono.
Yeah, that's so random. I've never heard that before. I mean, I've heard of people getting mono, but they're like, yeah, he's guaranteed to miss 4 games. We're calling it right now. He has mono. So don't expect much, Jets fans. Even then, didn't matter.
Yeah. Going back to the Le'Veon Bell, though, I'm surprised. The Pittsburgh Steelers were thinking about getting him.
Yeah, they were trading
Steelers,
back for him.
Yeah.
Which would be okay. I don't know if they need him. It's tough. You're on a third string quarterback. Maybe it would have helped. James Conner had a really good game.
And also, like, the contract he's under was less than what he wanted from the Steelers. Or I think the Steelers offered him a contract and it didn't work out. And then he signed, like, a lesser deal with the Jets. So I think they were like, okay, yeah, we could get him back for less.
Get him back for cheap money. And it was, like, mutual at some point. I think for a while they were kind of back and forth. I think the franchise realized what he was doing. And from a business standpoint, they didn't want to offer it to him. No, no hard love there, no love lost, I should say. So I'm sure they'd welcome him back open arms. But yeah, the NFL, a lot of good things happening. We're gonna go week by week, but eventually, we're gonna start to see who these real, who's real and who's not. Obviously, with the Patriots, we don't know. Obviously, we know they're good because Tom Brady and what their defense has been doing, but Ravens definitely, they're exciting.
They definitely shot up the list of, like, contenders. I forgot that they picked up Marcus Peters.
Yeah, they did. He had a pick six in his first game with them.
Mm-hmm.
So to see that, that's huge. And if I'm Marcus Peters, I'm not mad.
No.
Like, I went from a winning team to a winning team with a better quarterback.
And they have Earl Thomas on their defense. Their defense is like Ravens-esque. And now that their offense is like high, it's like a fast break offense.
Yeah, no, they're completely overall a top contender based on their talent. And obviously what it says in the standings is what it is.
I think that's pretty much it for the NFL this week. We could talk about some of the games for this week. We already mentioned Monday night is the 49ers against the Seahawks. Other games to take a look at. Thursday night might be a good one, but Thursday night games aren't necessarily good. Bills at Browns should be good.
That should be a good game.
Because Bills are pretty good this year. And then the Browns, we talked about their struggles a little bit. We'll see if they can bounce back.
But any given Sunday for that team of talent, who knows? And we get to see Kareem Hunt, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how they use him.
Lions at Bears, so one of those teams will pretty much end their playoff.
End their season. Yeah, hands down. Either team, I would take the Bears in that game just because I feel like overall the Bears at some point should come around. We'll see about that. But yeah, either team that loses, we know is going to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with how the NFC North is panning out. Another big game to watch.
Giants at Jets, 3 wins combined between those teams.
Yeah. I don't know if I think I'm going to stick to the highlights for that game. I do have a couple of guys on the Giants for fantasy, so I'll keep in touch there. Minnesota and Dallas is a huge game. Huge game for Minnesota. And Dallas, too.
Oh, yeah. The Sunday Night Football game.
To be a good game. They have Dallas by 3 right now, which I think is a fair spread.
Mm-hmm.
Either team that loses, Minnesota, if they go on to lose.
Yeah.
If Minnesota goes on to lose, I would say, well, it's all going to come down to the Packers game. I can't really say much if they lose. Green Bay still has to win the football game. Cowboys, if they lose, they still have the Eagles creeping up behind them in that division. Panthers-Packers is definitely going to be a good game to watch. They're giving Green Bay a 5-point spread. They are the home team. They've been struggling a little bit recently on the defense. We'll see. I don't know how they're going to stop Christian McCaffrey. Dude's a dog. I mean, I don't know how else to describe him. He just can't be stopped. We have the Rams in Pittsburgh. I feel like the Rams should be able to pull that game away, but this week in general, and then we have Seattle and San Francisco.
Yeah.
So this week in general is going to be huge for teams to decide where their path is going.
Yeah, a lot of playoff potential type games, and teams need wins. And only one team will come out with a win in all these matchups. So
yeah, it's going to be huge. Carolina is definitely playing. They're going to come out grinding. I don't know. I think the Packers in that game against San Diego, to fall back to that real quick, like Roger said, it was a good slice of humble pie. Hopefully that's all it was. If he continues to fall on his ass every other play, Carolina's going to wrap that game up. And then, of course, we have the game of the week. I would call it Seattle and San Francisco.
In San Fran.
So that's going to be a fun game. They're giving the 49ers a 6-point spread.
Ooh.
That's a big spread. I mean, you're basically counting on the Niners defense, which I'm sure they're going to play well.
Nick Bosa has been amazing. I think
incredible.
Nick and Joey both won Defensive Player of the Week.
The week before. Yeah, they won Defensive Player of the Week. That was the first time ever for brothers to win that. That's genetics right there.
Mm-hmm.
Both are just really good football players. But yeah, so there's a lot of good teams, or a lot of good matchups this week, a lot of matchups that really are going to determine which teams have a chance and which don't. So, we'll touch base with that next week. I think at this point, should we touch base on the NBA? I think we're going to have to.
Before we get into that,
we're still waiting?
You play fantasy sports.
I do.
Do you have any must-plays this week that you think should happen?
For fantasy?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm going to have to look at that one. There's always a few go-to matchups. I feel like this week, I can take a look. I do have a FanDuel lineup already.
Oh. The rough draft?
It's a rough draft, yeah, because obviously injuries do happen. So this week, my lineup consists of, and you guys can take this if you want, at quarterback against Cincinnati, Lamar Jackson.
He should run all over that team.
Oh, yeah. Maybe not 100 yards. Maybe 200 yards.
Maybe he'll pass for 300 and rush for like 60.
It might be, if I'm not mistaken, in week 1.
He dominated week 1.
That was Miami.
The Dolphins.
That was Miami. He had 5 touchdowns. When he played against Cincinnati, the last game, 236 passing yards. 152 rushing yards. With a rushing touchdown. Ended up with 30 FanDuel points. My running backs, I'm playing Christian McCaffrey against my Packers. Packers have given up the 27th most fantasy points to running backs. I might change this depending on what happens with the running back by committee in Arizona, but I have Kenyon Drake against Tampa. Tyreek Hill. Who else do I have? Hollywood Brown. You're going to go double up Hollywood Brown and Lamar Jackson. But I feel like your must-plays are definitely Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey. Not saying that the Panthers are going to win the football game, but I have yet to see anybody truly stop him. He's just put up 3 touchdowns in their last game. The dude, he's a ball hog and well-deserved. So those are my go-tos.
All right. Yeah, we talked about the NFL for a while today. We'll transition into the NBA. Last week, only like 1 game was played, and the Lakers were 0-1.
Yeah, to the Clippers.
The Clippers. And we're just like, the Lakers are okay. They aren't too great. Now the Lakers, they've won 5 in a row, 6 in a row.
Yeah, as of right now, they're on a 6-game winning streak. They have 1 loss. That was it. That one against the Clippers. They've been balling out. As I knew they would, I didn't think it would be this early. I thought they would have some sort of issues clicking, the chemistry, trying to figure out who they are as a team. Dwight Howard has had some good games.
He's playing his role, which is good. Like they don't need him to be the Dwight Howard that he was, the Superman. They just need a center, a guy who grabs some boards and who's a good role player.
Just be athletic. And
he's a great role player.
He's a great role player. I mean, he brings energy. And, I said it last week. I thought the guy was washed. I thought when they got him, give him 15 minutes. Give JaVale McGee, let him play 20 minutes. But he's coming out strong. I think playing around LeBron and AD, I mean, how can you not? How can you not be happy?
AD's helping him out a lot because AD's scoring, and that brings the big men off of him. which will leave him open for some
And
shots.
AD spreads the floor. I mean, he's not going to be a top 3-point shooter, but he can shoot the mid range. I think overall the Lakers are definitely playing at a level in which they are a top 2. Clippers, they're 5-2. They still don't have Paul George.
No.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Kawhi might have sat a game already.
He's sitting tomorrow against the Bucks for workload.
Wow.
I don't know why they're sitting him, but I don't know.
That's a good matchup. I guess with the West, it's early in the season. They're still going to be a top team. They can afford to lose a couple of games here and there. Overall, I've liked Dallas. Phoenix is 5-2. That's a very good basketball team. Unfortunately, DeAndre Ayton got suspended.
Mm-hmm. Same with John Collins today.
John Collins got
even
suspended.
Even though he plays for the Hawks. Different
which
story.
Still, though, he's stepped it up this year. He had a good season last year. He was quiet. Trae Young kind of got a lot of that publicity. John Collins is, I would say, a huge piece in Atlanta right now. They won a few games. They're 3-3 right now. Them losing John Collins is huge. Jabari Parker is going to get more playing time over there because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Trae Young is going to be required to step up. I expect them to drop down in that 25-game span a little bit. These young guys doing PEDs. What's going on?
I tweeted out today, I'm like, I don't know if I've ever so there's been 2 guys suspended for PEDs in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
I think this year those 2 guys are more than I've ever seen in my entire life get suspended for PEDs
in basketball.
I've never seen that happen before, and we've seen it twice.
I thought the whole idea was to stay lean, pack on a little bit of muscle, but stay athletic, which they are.
Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily need PEDs for basketball, which
that's
why
weird.
I think it's so uncommon.
Yeah, that's really strange. For John Collins, it was a growth hormone.
Yeah.
Dude, you're 7 foot. You're built like a tank as it is, and you move like a forward.
I think it's for recovery.
For faster recovery. Yeah, I could see that too, but it's just weird. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when you're winning games and you're putting up numbers, expect to get tested.
Yeah, and now you're suspended for 25 games, which I think is like a weird amount.
It is a weird amount. For the NBA, that's more than a quarter because there's, 82 games in the season?
Yeah.
It's going to hurt Atlanta a lot. I expect Trae Young to have a lot of 40-point games, shooting 35% and 42 times a game. They still have a team. It's one of those things where they're in the East, so they can still sneak in as a 7 or an 8 seed. Phoenix, they still have talent there. Devin Booker is going to put up huge games. He just had a 42-point game.
He's finally, he always scores. It's just his team past couple years has been absolutely garbage. I think they've improved a little bit here.
They're averaging 115 points a game, which is quite a bit.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot. Their points per game leader, Devin Booker at 26, Aiden, one game. Kelly Oubre's averaging 17.4.
Yeah, he's starting to come around. There's always talks of him being good. Over in Washington was not a good spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
You had Bradley Beal, John Wall. You had Porter over there kind of stealing some light, I guess. So I'm glad he's with Phoenix right now.
Aaron Baines is averaging 15. Ricky Rubio is averaging 12.7.
Yeah, they have Ricky Rubio there.
One guy I did not expect to be averaging over 10, Frank Kaminsky.
Big Frank the
11
Tank.
points. The local.
The local, yeah. He's from around here.
Did you work at Best Buy when he came in?
Yeah, we were working together because that's where we met. We're nerds. So we used to work at Best Buy years ago. How long ago? Would you say 5 years ago now?
I started 5 years ago.
About 5 years. Okay, so maybe 4 years ago. That dude walking in had a duck to get into the building, and he stood up to the light fixtures in some parts of the store.
Yeah.
That was pretty incredible.
Yeah. Nobody bothered him. and he was like on his phone the whole time. I think his mom came in for like a phone plan, and he was just like walking around on the phone.
Yeah, I talked to her because that's where I worked. I,
Uh.
was over in that area. That's funny too that you mentioned that. I forgot all about that. But yeah, Frank Kaminsky averaging 10 a game. Well, I guess they don't really have much talent off the bench, and he's not bad. He was kind of sitting in Charlotte for a while. Golden State. We talked about their woes.
And last week, Steph Curry was still playing.
He was playing.
This week, he has a broken
He's not
hand.
playing.
So that team is bad. They just won against a decent team, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, they ended up winning. They hustled hard all 48 games. They beat up Portland.
48 minutes.
Or 40, what did I say? 48 games, 48 minutes.
Yeah, against Portland.
So they played a really good basketball game, which is good. They have, who was it that put up 34 points? Eric?
Eric Paschal. He's like a rookie or something. He's 23. Didn't hear about him until yesterday.
I had no idea who he was. 34 points, 13 boards.
Yeah, this is his rookie year.
Yeah. They had him, and he was like the only one truly that won off. Everybody else just played their just enough.
You had Kai Bowman put up 19, Damian Lee put up 18, Jordan Poole put up 16, Alec Burks 13, Cauley Stein 10. They had 6 guys in double digits, which good team game. D'Angelo Russell and Draymond Green didn't even play yesterday.
Yeah, injury or day-to-day they are right now.
I think Steve Kerr said he does not want to run Draymond Green into the ground.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
You don't expect playoffs for this team.
And you're still thinking about the future.
Yeah.
So you have to manage it a little bit.
Yeah, especially when you will eventually have Klay Thompson back. Curry's going to come back at some point this year. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets shut down at some point. Or they restrict him minute-wise.
It depends on their record.
It all depends on that. Obviously, Klay Thompson's not coming back this year, but you still want to keep your supporting cast intact. And so it makes sense to throw Draymond, give him a couple nights off for workload, if you will.
Yeah, same with D'Angelo.
Yeah,
which I'm surprised that they still won that game.
Yeah, because Damian Lillard had a good game. I mean, overall, between him and McCollum, which McCollum's not scoring as much as he has in the past couple of years, and it's still early, they still have a pretty good team. They're still a playoff team. I think in the West overall, Lakers, Clippers, Dallas, I really like Luka Doncic.
He put up a monster performance. Was against the Lakers?
The Lakers.
And they lost, unfortunately.
They did, but he had a triple-double. He's turning into a triple-double machine. I know everybody's starting to average triple-doubles, it seems like. But it's still, I mean, that's still a huge stat.
Yeah.
To do it against LeBron and the Lakers, whose defense hasn't been bad. They've shut down some solid teams so far.
Yeah.
Kristaps, overall, that team right now is top 8.
They're 4-2.
4-2.
And their stats I'm pulling up right now.
So they're averaging 116 points a game, which is looking like a top 5, top 6. And they're giving up 112. So they're on the plus side. 4.5 point difference, which is good. Not too many teams. Well, a lot of teams that are in the top 8 are going to be on the plus side, except for Houston somehow.
Yeah.
Which Houston, if I'm not mistaken, just lost. Who did they just lose to yesterday? They just lost a big game.
Houston.
Or 2 games ago, I'm sorry, to Miami.
Oh, Miami's
been hot. And they were without Butler for a couple of games due to the birth of his child. He comes back. His supporting cast is still going off. They have a very good team in the East.
Yeah, that team is looking great. Talking about the Rockets, James Harden averaging 36.6 points a game Russell Westbrook averaging almost a triple-double. So, like, that's a weird thing to see.
You thought triple-double machines.
Well, also, you thought James Harden averaged 35 last year.
Yeah.
And he had Chris Paul around him, but he's like a pass-first guy.
Chris Paul, yeah, he has been actually, almost his whole career. He can score, but he handles the ball so much. Even with Westbrook there.
Yeah.
James Harden is going to, I mean, if I'm Westbrook, I have accepted the role that Harden is our top scorer, and he will continue to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if I'm Westbrook, I'm happy about that. He was relied on for so many years to be so aggressive, driving the lane. He was good at what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But now you can kind of take the back seat, play that point guard role.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be what it was like with Westbrook and Durant.
Yeah.
Where I thought James Harden could still put up 30, but putting up more points than he did last year with Russell Westbrook, who does take shots. He will go to the rim. And then Russell Westbrook keeping like his triple-double type stats is pretty good, especially because James Harden's more of like an iso ball type guy.
He is.
So you lose that assist right there. And seeing them mesh together, you thought like both their stats, you thought maybe like Westbrook's rebounds would go down or like assists or some of his stats, and Harden's points would go down while Westbrook's would be like 25, 26. Westbrook's averaging like 21 at the moment.
Yeah, he's averaging 21 points. His 3-point percentage is low, which he hasn't always been the best 3-point shooter. He's shooting 25%. Almost 10 rebounds a game, almost 10 assists a game. The assists being 9.2 and Harden being at 7.5. As you can tell, nobody else is really passing the ball. So it just goes to show how much they are handling, which is okay. I like that stat more than his rebound stat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's out rebounding Clint Capella, which I feel like at that point, it shouldn't happen. I'm not going to say he cherry picks for the rebounds, but his assist stat is huge. To still average that when you have, like you mentioned, James Harden, who is an ISO player.
Russell Westbrook's plus minus, though, this year is negative 7.8, which isn't great. I don't know if him and...
Well, their team in general...
isn't great defensively.
Well, they've given up more points than they've scored on the season, which is odd to see for a team in the top 8 to have that negative... I think they're almost -4, which you don't see that often. But they are a team who can put up 140 one game, which I think they may have already done, and then lose the next game, which we've seen, by 20 points.
They scored 159.
159, there you go.
Was that an OT game? Because it was 159, 158.
That was regulation. That was 4 quarters for that game.
Against Washington?
Yeah. If you look at that game, that was a 4-quarter game.
Wow, that's a lot of points in 4
For
quarters.
Washington to put up that's huge too. Bradley Beal had an incredible game, which Washington kind of has some issues going on too. John Wall seems to be hurt every year. Bradley Beal.
I'm surprised he hasn't been moved yet.
I'm surprised too, but I think he's their franchise player. He knows it. The franchise knows it. The franchise, I'm pretty sure they've been wanting to shop John Wall.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tear my Achilles at home, slipping on a Tonka truck, I guess, or whatever it was he did. He's always hurt. His contract is huge.
Like $40 million a year.
Something crazy. And he's one of my favorite point guards to watch play when he's out there. But the issue is he's never out there, and they don't have anything besides those 2 guys. They used to have some talent, but now it's just...
A team seems to be like a shell of themselves.
Yeah.
But they're 2-4. I don't think they'll...
Yeah, they're going to fall off. I
think Beal does get traded, though, before the trade deadline. I think they finally move him.
He's going to be on the block. I don't know who's going to throw offers at him. I know there's a lot of teams, I'm sure, that would. His contract is on the larger side, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
He definitely has like a super... I don't know if it's a super max contract, but he has pretty much a max contract. It would be worth every draft pick or talent to give up for him, knowing he is who he is. But yeah, Washington's not going to do it. If I'm Washington, trade for a couple draft picks, get something going.
And he just signed a contract extension
This past year.
Yeah, so he was signed until end of 2021, and he just signed a contract extension which goes until the end of 2023. So right now his current contract goes until end of 2021. It was like
what's his total contract right now? Does it say?
Well, it was 5 years, $127 million, and then he signed a 2-year
the extension,
$72 million extension.
72 over 2 years.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. He's getting paid $37 million in his final year. And oh my goodness. This guy, when his contract is up in 2023, will be 29.
Only 29 years old.
Earning $37 million. His whole career, he would earn $200 million before becoming 30 years old.
That's unheard of. I shouldn't say it's unheard of. There's players out there, but can you imagine what his contract's going to be at 29?
Especially
that's
if
another max deal waiting to happen.
Yeah, especially if the deal, like this TV deal, has made
so much money
and allowed these teams to sign players to these massive contracts.
As long as China doesn't cut off the NBA, they should be good.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I think we'll be okay over there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Rockets owner or GM, whatever it was, just keep it down, just a little bit. But yeah, they're. I can see them getting traded. Hopefully, if not, they have some talent. I guess they're okay in the East. They can contend for an 8th seed, but so can the Knicks technically.
Mm-hmm. After seeing that contract extension, though, I don't see Beal getting traded
with that much money.
Yeah, with like 5 years left on his deal.
It
was like 2 years. Then
yeah,
maybe,
because then like how Kawhi got traded to Toronto. It was a rental. He won. All right, now you're gone. We're not going to pay you.
And also, they just signed him to an extension. Like if it was maybe like last year,
they made him the franchise player.
Yeah, there's like okay, we want you.
He seems to be okay, content in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's able to put up the numbers that he's putting up. I think I do want to talk about, and I know I said I wasn't going to try to focus on Chicago sports.
The Bulls.
I've just been like, I'm kind of eating my words right now. My prediction was before the season started was the Bulls will be a playoff team, and I still feel that way. A lot of trash talk back and forth with what I said. I don't think this team realizes that they can still play good in a fourth quarter. We saw it tonight against the Lakers. Going into the second half, they were up 17, 18 points. 19 points.
And they blew it.
In the fourth quarter, they blew it. They were still up.
Yeah, they lost the fourth quarter by 19 points and lost the game by 6.
They lost the game by 6 points. So this has been the story of the Chicago Bulls. They lost to Charlotte in the fourth quarter. I'm trying to think of games where they definitely blew a fourth quarter lead. The Knicks, Bobby Portis, R.J. Barrett, the Lakers, which it's okay to lose to the Lakers. I didn't expect the Bulls to go out and win the basketball game. But when you're up 19 and you have talent, at some point, just score. And that's been the story of their season so far. In the fourth quarter, they let these teams go on runs. LeBron, triple-double.
Yeah, looking at like the point tracker, the Bulls were up 13 points at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And at one point in the fourth quarter, the Bulls were down 13 points.
In the fourth quarter?
Yeah, so a 26-point swing in the fourth quarter.
You'll never win. Don't get me wrong, LeBron had a great game. LeBron's always going to have a great game. He was plus 17 on the court. Anthony Davis, he had 15 points, was minus 4. He shot 6 of 15, way below the 50% mark that he normally can hit. Their X factor in this game,
Quinn Cook,
6 of 9, 3 of 4 from downtown, plus 14.
Yeah.
Kuzma's back. That's nice to see. He only played like 20 minutes, but he still put up 15 points. Chicago, to me, at some point, because they're playing good.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the first 3 quarters of every game, they're competing. And then it comes down to the fourth quarter.
The inexperience
kicks in. The young talent. Markkanen isn't playing as good as he should be every game, which is, he has the talent. He's still young, though, right? He's still trying to establish.
He dropped 7 points today.
7 point on 2 of 8 shooting, which is fine. He wasn't shooting the ball very well. You let Otto Porter shoot more than you, but he hit 7 of 12, which is good.
Yeah. Markkanen, his only 2 field goals came outside the 3-point line.
At 3, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2 of 5 from downtown, which I'll take.
Yeah, he missed. He only had 3 shots inside the 3-point line. 3 shots inside the 3-point line. Only drew a foul, so he had 2 free throws. That was it. He had 3 rebounds in the game.
3 rebounds. He was not playing as big as he is.
He had 0 fouls. What is he doing?
And he played 30 minutes. It's not like he didn't log any time.
Yeah.
Kobe White came off hot off the bench.
18 points in 23 minutes.
Most of that was in the first half. So at some point, this team just said, we're not going to play. Fourth quarter, to be outscored by double what you put up, which again could happen. It's not looking good right now for Chicago. Like, it is and it isn't. If we go based off the first 3 quarters of every game, yeah.
They're a good team.
They're a great team. Fourth quarter, they're not. I still stand by it. If they can get it going, they are an 8th seed team. But now I'm saying if, because I don't know now if this young talent's going to get it going.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what the next week where the Bulls stand.
Yeah. Kyrie kind of dumbed it down a little bit with his dramatics.
Mm-hmm.
So he's starting to smooth it out. He's still balling out of his mind, moving around the court like he normally does, scoring the basketball. One player that I wanted to note on was Andre Drummond.
Is he going off this year?
Oh man, this dude's averaging 20-20. Almost.
Oh.
Hold on.
He had the potential, but he never got there before.
He's had a lot of 20-20 games. There was a game I went to a few years ago when he was younger where he had 25 and 25, and I was flabbergasted. I was shook. I didn't know that someone could dominate that much. Also wasn't surprised because it was the Bulls team.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at his game log this season, so starting back from game 1, 32 points, 23 boards. If we go to October 30th, 21 points, 22 boards. The next 2 games, 25 points. One game he had 24 boards. The next he had 20. He's literally averaged in 4 games over 20 rebounds a game.
It's pretty good. That's what you like to see, especially with that Pistons team who D Rose is playing pretty decent.
Still waiting for Blake Griffin. I don't know how long. Do you know how long he's out, supposedly out? I don't know how long he's out for. This team has talent in the East. I don't know if they can beat Milwaukee. I highly doubt it. No, I don't know if anybody's going to beat Milwaukee with the team that they have. But they definitely have a team that could compete, win a couple of games in a series. But Andre Drummond right now, to me, if he can keep this up, I don't know how. Antetokounmpo goes back-to-back, unless he averages a triple-double a game and they win 60 games again, which could very well happen.
I could see LeBron or Anthony Davis winning it if they get like the 1 seed.
Yeah, but that's going to be the deciding factor is the seed, where they finish. LeBron's always a contender. LeBron is, I would say, my favorite player to watch, even at his age.
He hasn't slowed down. People are like, oh, he's it's his 17th year or whatever.
Whatever it may be.
He's 34. Like I get that he's logged so many minutes in his career, but he's still athletic.
He plays it smart. The teams play it smart. I know we got a lot of heat for sitting a lot of games last year. He still played a good chunk. You don't expect to they're not going to the playoffs.
No.
Why would you run him to the ground?
Especially when he got hurt, they were like, okay, you're just going to sit out.
Just sit out. We'll let the young guys, we're going to see who's going to make the cut for next year while we bring in AD and who's not going to make the cut. And I think overall at his age, still playing like he's 26, 27, definitely could be an MVP contender.
Aging like a fine wine.
Yeah, his hairline keeps coming back. Maybe that's giving him life. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with LeBron. But definitely still my favorite player to watch. There's a lot with LeBron, whether or not he's the best of our era. I would say he's hands down the best player we've seen since Jordan.
Definitely is. He definitely is.
I don't want to get into the Jordan versus LeBron talk. It's always a heated discussion. I think it's we'll say that for another day.
He's definitely the best player of the 2000s.
Oh, hands down. Hands down.
And he will continue to be a top 5 player in the game until he probably retires.
Yeah, I mean the way there's always a statistic. You can look at stats. That's always one story. You look at a team that wins games, how many playoffs he won to. Yeah, did he lose a lot in the playoffs? Yes. Did he lose a lot in the finals? Yes. Can't take away. He made it there. Not saying
8 straight years.
8 straight years is tough. Granted, you had some good teams. You played in the East. I don't care who you are. That's tough. Jordan probably would have done it if he didn't retire a couple times.
Yeah, he made it 6 pretty much.
Pretty much 6 in a row that he played. But that's a huge feat right there. And, LA, the Lakers have a squad. I'm just excited for Paul George to come back for the Clippers and for these two to just battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about LeBron and the Lakers a lot this year. I'm not a Lakers fan, but like they're going to be the team to watch this year, especially with LeBron, especially just that Lakers prestige as a franchise. So
yeah. And they have some good role players that are actually stepping up, and that's huge. So definitely an exciting team to watch. I'm not a Lakers fan either. I'm a LeBron fan, but I'm not a fanboy where I'm going to,
I'm definitely rooting for them to make it and probably win it this year.
It'd be cool to see. I want to see AD win. He's from Chicago. That'd be nice.
Mm-hmm. Dwight Howard, yeah. Lakers, Clippers would be an awesome Western Conference Finals. Yeah.
I would watch that. In the East, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's going to be the Sixers and maybe the Bucks or Celtics.
Miami is going to be up there. Boston is playing okay. Boston's not bad. So,
yeah, we'll just have to see. I think that's going to be it for this week. Another super long episode.
How long did we hit?
I don't know. I know I've hit 25 minutes on the camera multiple times. I don't know how long it is on what I'm recording on, but yeah, we covered a lot this week. I thought it was going to be a shorter podcast, but
well, we assume that because baseball was just a Game 7 for the World Series, but there's always more to it.
Well, we covered half a season of sports, and now that we go into specifics, we can spend like 5 minutes on each specific game.
Yeah.
There's more to talk about, but fine. Which
is okay. I'm okay with that. I like to talk anyways. So, but yeah, definitely caught up a lot next week. Definitely tune in again. Make sure you follow us again on YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram and Twitter. We are at SR Only Pod. the YouTube channel, Standing Room Only Podcast. You can catch us there. Episode 2 will be up tomorrow, Wednesday.
Well, yeah, it should be available Wednesday, November 5th. If you're listening to this, you've already found it, so it doesn't.
You already
matter.
know.
It
You already
doesn't matter
know
on that. But yeah, thanks to everyone that has tuned in so far. We're trying to get it on iTunes and Spotify.
It's gonna be soon. We're determined to get it up. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I would say it's gonna be up very soon. So when that does happen, for all you fans out there that are checking daily, just keep doing it. It'll be up there. If you do follow us on social media, we'll post when it's on there as well.
It will be posted on the Twitter account.
Yes.
And possibly Instagram once it goes live. So make sure to follow those accounts.
Yeah, just follow the accounts. We do plan on updating at least daily or at least every other day on those to stay up to date with sports. And yeah, just follow, subscribe. We appreciate all you, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.